Welcome everyone to another episode of HR and Payroll 2.0. I'm Pete Tiliakis, and as always, I'm joined by the legendary Julie Fernandez. Welcome, Julie.
Thanks so much, Pete. We have a really special, famousissimo guest today.
Yes, we have a very well-timed, very exceptional guest that I'm so excited about. It's National Payroll Week, as most of you know. This will come out the Tuesday following that, so I'm really excited to invite Jason Davenport, the CEO at the Chartered Institute of Payroll Professionals, all-around payroll expert and great guy. Jason, welcome. So excited to have you.
Pete, Julie, it's great to be here. Thanks so much for the invitation. Can't wait to get started.
Yeah. Happy National Payroll Week.
Yeah.
It's a good. It's I think every week should be National Payroll Week if you really want my opinion. But yeah. So how's it been? How's the week been? Has it been busy?
So, absolutely fantastic. We've used hashtags MPW24. We're driving a hashtag choose payroll because what we really want to do this year is create that brand awareness, make sure people see the opportunities within payroll. Because I started in payroll many years ago, but my career has taken me on so many different directions. And the week has just gone fantastically well. I think we're smashing the hashtags off the charts, and we're getting so much interaction with webinars. We had a whole kick-off event at the Sky Garden in London, which is a beautiful location. It sits on the Thames, right across from the Gherkin, and you've got the London Eye, so fabulous views all around. And we had more than 200 VIPs there for the kickoff session, and celebrating all that payroll delivers to industry.
Yeah. Congratulations, man. I saw the photos of the event you had posted. You were talking about there, and yeah, you guys. I signed up for the resources, right? The stuff for National Payroll Week. You guys put out a great package of resources. I think there was a digital file that we were able to download. And yeah, it was just a packed agenda of events and things to participate in. So yeah, awesome, and I love it.
The hashtag you said, the other hashtag you mentioned, Jason, was choose payroll, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
Is
yeah.
that just is the idea of that obviously it's choose payroll versus maybe not getting paid or gig work or something, but that's aimed at payroll as a profession, right? Like the whole idea of this is a cool place to be.
That's
Yeah.
absolutely right, Julie. Yeah, we really want to put payroll on the career map, and so many, the school syllabus, they talk about accountants. They'll take in different directions in terms of software and computing, and actually payroll as a career choice gives you so many different options. Lots of people, not just from an operational perspective, and actually delivering payroll either in-house or outsourced or as part of an accountant's practice. But lots of people then move on into different areas within payroll, the likes of software development, the likes of policy review. Obviously, there's a lot of skills involved in sales and implementation, testing and building the software in order to deliver compliance. So there's so many different roles, and we really want to shout about that so people can understand it and see it as a real potential career choice, and not just what we hear too anecdotally as I fell into payroll.
That's a great segue.
We are
Yeah.
universally we hear that. Yeah.
That's a great segue. Julie, you want to do the honors of that one?
Oh, sure,
Yeah.
sure. Okay, so as you know, Jason, you probably know, we ask all of our guests how the heck you got into payroll or payroll and HR, and what is it that makes you stay?
Hey, that's a fantastic question. And I started in construction. I was an office junior, started out on construction sites, but very much part of that office process within the construction site. So I was ordering materials, ordering plant for the construction sites, became involved in first aid and health and safety, and those kind of things are super important out on the construction sites, and also estimating for the guys the jobs that they'd done, so the bonus they were due with the type of work that they completed. And it was probably after my second winter in construction, and I thought, I really need to get into an office where it's a bit warmer, and and the opportunity there was through accounts, and the accounts team were also looking for someone to handle payroll, and I've been doing the preparation work for payroll, if you like, on the construction site by filling in timesheets, filling in all of the different sorts of work patterns that have been completed. So I'd sent it off to payroll, and getting to do that in the office, then having that opportunity, um, really then made me consider payroll as a career choice, because I really enjoyed delivering 100% payroll accuracy. So taking that from the start, the gross input, at that time, it was all manually calculated, so tax and national insurance using tables to build it up to the net pay, and then delivering cash in packets to the guys because it was still
Oh, wow.
that kind of approach then, yeah.
Yeah.
So that was my starting base in construction, but it was, and I really really enjoyed payroll. And I thought this is great, but as I looked around me, it was engineers and surveyors that got to the top of the tree, and I thought, right, I need to consider how I'm going to grow, develop my career, wanted to go through leadership, and I joined an outsourcing business. Um, and that the outsourcers obviously were taking payrolls from those that have been delivered in house. Suddenly, I was learning so many different industries, the pharmaceutical industry, finance industry, oil and gas, because in an outsourced environment, you become responsible for all those industries. So there was lots of learning, which supports one of my mantras, which is every day is a school day. And it that just enabled me then to really pursue lots of different avenues within payroll. And I can talk a lot more about that, but I'm very conscious I don't want to take up too much of your time. So you can either ask me to continue,
Our
or else.
time is yours.
Yeah.
You are the guest of honor, Jason.
Yeah. No, it's great though, Jason. I mean, it's interesting how people find their way here, and it's fascinating that we find some outstanding talent. But like, what do we have to do to get people
Yeah,
starting out at payroll being their first choice? That's always been this conundrum that I don't know that we have made any progress on, right? And I think I desperately want to see that change.
yeah, I do too, Pete. I really do.
Yeah,
There's a couple of things that start before that for me, which is around financial awareness.
yeah,
Um, so in the UK, the CIPP is part of an initiative driving government around lifetime savings. And the Lifetime Savings Initiative, it was actually the founders there were the Pensions Management Institute and Schroders Investment Bank in the UK. Because if you look at the working population, and you think of those individuals that are working really hard, but very often an issue like a car breakdown or the washing machine breaks down, it sends them into debt because you have no savings, and that's because people are living day to day, people are living month to month, and we think financial awareness would really be supportive to help individuals, and equally, if the government could do more to support savings, because lots of people have less than $1,000 or £1,000 in terms of savings on a month-to-month basis. So for me, taking that snapshot of that piece of information, what can we do more actually at a school age level, and school leaver level? So we talk about algebra, we talk about other engineering type pieces. Do we equip them to come out into the marketplace, understanding your payslip
yeah,
at one level? What is tax and national insurance about, or social security over in America? What are those what are those deductions being made on behalf of? How am I contributing to the broader community? And many more aspects of financial awareness then around credit, how to use credit sensibly, what do mortgages mean, how do you best utilize that? And there's elements that I think we can take from all over the world, like the 401k approach, that you can use your
yeah,
pension towards your mortgage. In the UK, we're looking for that same kind of appreciation, if you like. The people are putting into pensions. Well, let's recognise that they're taking a step towards savings as part of that. So
right.
I think the financial awareness piece is one big area to tackle, and then as part of that, seeing payroll as a career choice, seeing the opportunities that sit there for whatever direction you might be interested in terms of software, in terms of legislation, in terms of operations, in terms of sales. There really is a great career path choice, and it's really about celebrating and expressing that so people can see it as an opportunity.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and there's so many new like look, I was having a conversation with a gentleman yesterday, on my ride back from the airport, and we were talking about AI, and I was saying, do you remember when the internet came around? I remember, Julie, you might remember this. I feel like in the news, at least here in the US, we were talking fewer but better jobs. Do you remember that kind of around that time?
Are you trying to date me, Pete?
No, no, no. I'm just saying, like, I feel like, yeah, no, no, I know, but it is right. I feel like that's what we were talking about, and I don't see that AI. I mean, listen, it's incredibly impactful. It could be very, very disruptive to the workforce, and it will be. But I also think that there's going to be that same, maybe different jobs, right? I don't know if fewer is the right thing. Every technology and every innovation that comes along creates a different path of work. And I think that's what's going to happen here, right? We're going to see different types of jobs. And I'm starting to see, payroll having opportunities in areas that maybe weren't that are a little bit more adjacent technology wise, or other places where they're finding a path from those skills that were born out of payroll, right? So yeah, I'm optimistic. I mean, I think that we need payroll is starving for innovation. It has been for so long, and it's so great to see it here. But we have to protect this industry because we're not. I mean, like everyone, we're losing talent, we're losing skill, we're not bringing them in as fast as we're losing them, and we haven't historically been the first stop of those folks anyway. They're just kind of ending up here, which is yeah, just
Yeah.
not ideal.
Let's build on the story, Pete. So, Pete, Julie, I come from the
Yeah.
steam. I come from the steam age. Yeah. So, I started out it with pre-computerization, and so when the computers came along, hey, there was the fear, but there was the embrace. It was fantastic to see what they could do. Actually, getting all of the calculations, the tax, the national insurance, getting all of that detailed in meant that wow, we could do so much more. We could handle so much more. So while the aspiration was to create some free time, it also meant that the efficiency levels grew, and you could maximize so much more work with the computer's support. And I think you need to look at it in that way. It's the computer support. We're still in charge of that, just as we are in terms of the other technologies that have taken us forward. So I think AI is a great enabler. If I relate it back to earlier parts of payroll technology moving forward, it's like automation. For a long time we talked about why are people sitting there keying in the same data? Why not automate that data? Why not improve that process and take away that manual repetitive work? So AI, I'm looking at it in a similar way. What can it do that's helpful, that's supportive, that answers questions easily? But actually, let's not be fearful for the fact that the real nitty gritty of payroll, the legislation, the understanding how those calculations work, etc., that's still down to a huge amount of human interpretation, human understanding. Where it would free up, and where I hope it frees up, is I now consider myself a technology worker. Everything I do interacts on technology. Everything. Go to meetings, and there's presentations behind me. I come on to things like this, and we're using through the podcast, we're using technology to enable this to happen. Technology there is an enabler, which is a fantastic support to everyone, but it's individuals that have got to put the strategy behind it. Individuals within a payroll capacity, we've talked for a long time about wanting to enable them to be better, to be more strategic, to be seen at the board table. Well, does this freeing up of time allow them to do that? Does it allow them
Yeah.
to consider what data have I got on my fingertips that's going to be useful to business? So I say let's not be fearful. Let's look at embracing, but doing it with sensitivity, and doing it with a level of intelligence that's we are the human interaction that makes it really work.
Right.
Jason, you started out with you're from the STEAM area, and I'm thinking we're going from STEAM to STEM.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love it, Julie. Yeah.
And you know what? The only thing I don't know why there's been such a noise around STEM and the importance of those types of skills, and payroll fits perfectly in that category. It's everything
Right.
but the engineering bit, right? So
Yeah.
so maybe we need to kind of make some noise around the fact
That's
that
a yeah.
payroll is it's right there. It's in the STEM skills.
Yeah.
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 It's a great
Absolutely.
point. So Jason, talk to me a little bit about the CIPP. For the folks that aren't familiar, tell us a little bit about CIPP, what your mission is, what you guys are doing,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
yeah, how they can get engaged with that.
No, great. Thank you, Pete. Yeah. So the Chartered Institute, as it exists today, is 40 years young, and it came from
Oh, congrats.
an organization called APSA and then BPMA, the British Payroll Managers Association. So it's gone through its degrees of evolution. I actually joined when I was working in construction, the BPMA, as a member to find somewhere that was there for me. And then that again is something that's really important to make sure that we get our membership aware of what's available to them, and to those that work in payroll but don't know about the membership bodies that are there to support them.
Yeah.
So our mission is about leading the payroll and pensions professions. It's about supporting them in terms of qualifications and training. So whilst membership is very important to us, that accounts for about 16% of our revenue. We're a not-for-profit organisation with a royal charter deigned by, as it was at the time, Her Majesty's government, now His Majesty, and there's less than 1,000 businesses with a royal charter in the UK. So we're very proud of that, having the
Yeah,
royal charter there.
you should be.
It was a super important step for us, so that what we could actually do is offer to our individual members then. We got Royal Charter status in 2011, and in 2017 since 2017 we've been able to offer chartered status, individual chartered status, and within the UK that puts them on a peer-to-peer relationship with chartered accountants, chartered engineers. So really to demonstrate the depth of experience and qualifications that these individuals have, and we're super to see that body of people growing year on year.
What does it really take to lead with impact in today's ever evolving world? Welcome to Inside the C Suite, the podcast where influence, energy, innovation, and empathy converge. Hi, I'm Christy Honeycutt, your host. Join me as I sit down with the boldest voices in leadership, visionaries who are not just making decisions, but making a difference. In every episode, we explore the heart of leadership. How do high performing leaders harness their energy? How do they lead with empathy without losing their edge? How do they turn disruption into innovation and pressure into purpose? You'll hear unfiltered stories of adversity, resilience, and the raw moments that shaped true influence. This isn't about perfection, it's about presence, passion, and the energetic exchange that fuels transformation. Inside the C Suite is your invitation to lead from a deeper place with intention, connection, and courage. If you're ready to go beyond the surface and unlock what really moves leaders to action, hit subscribe and step inside. You can find us wherever you get your podcast fix. Inside the C Suite, well, we're an energetic exchange. Let's lead with influence, live with energy, and create with empathy.
I don't know about you, but I don't know very many people that are hopeful about the world of work. And I'd like to change that. My name's Marcus Mossberger, and I started the Hope at Work podcast, where you'll find two things. Number one, really interesting guests. And number two, innovative ideas about the future of work. Check it out.
Yeah, that's outstanding. Now, I've heard that the UK has some, is it degree programs or education in the
Yes.
universities for the payroll leader or payroll practitioner? Is that true?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
correct.
that's huge. That's huge.
When you leave school education at 18, you have A levels, which is considered level 3.
Right.
That's the equivalent university level. And then level 5 is degree level. And 6 and 7, those levels are at masters. And within payroll and pensions, we offer qualifications that take you through the up to level 3, and you can do apprenticeships up to level 3, up to level 5 as well. And again, you can either go through a degree approach to get to that stage, or you could do an apprenticeship now, which is being recognized at that level. And then we also have level 6 and 7 for masters and BA, which is again university accredited, but all developed and delivered, supported by ourselves. We have a trading subsidiary of CIPP, the IPP Education Limited, and they do all of that delivery and development work. And over here in the UK, we have Ofqual, which is the government assessment body, and our qualifications and our apprenticeship assessment is all Ofqual accredited.
Yeah, that's outstanding.
Since we're in acronym world here, I'd love to bounce a couple off of you that are familiar. I see them often in folks that I esteem to be very qualified and having been around the block, but I wonder how they fit or if they do fit at all
Yeah.
with your organization. I often see folks that will say they have Prince 2,
Yes.
different levels of certification or some sort of credentials. What do I make of that?
So Prince 2 is project management, and it's ensuring that an individual has gone through a level of qualification and experience in that project management stream of work. So somebody that's got Prince 2 accreditation would be great to have within a team when you're looking at new projects coming on board and being able to plan those out and then actually execute them through to delivery.
And another one I see quite frequently that many of payroll folks that have been around the block for a long time have is APMG. International? It might.
APMG. That's
I don't know if that's
Yeah, I haven't heard of
ringing
that
any
one. I've heard of
bells.
the Prince one before.
yeah, yeah,
I've worked with folks with that. Yeah. Interesting. So Jason,
Yeah,
what designations do you guys issue
yeah.
for your organization?
So we start at affiliate membership, and then through experience or through qualification, you can go through associate to full member. I'm a full member at the moment, but I'm actually completing my application to become a fellow. So you can become a
Ah.
fellow of the institute, and then, as I say, through further qualification, you could end up becoming chartered. And again, we started with the route that was purely about qualification, but now those routes have opened up to look at levels of experience as well. And we're really encouraging individuals because being able to use the designations is really important within industry. Lots, you know, I would say, hand on heart, 90% of employers that go out looking for somebody to work in payroll ask for CIPP approved qualifications.
Yeah, no, absolutely, as they should, right? I mean, it's
Yeah,
certainly, I mean, it's always been that way here in the US, right, with
yeah,
our CPPs and that sort of thing. So,
yeah, indeed,
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
no, I feel like there's almost not enough education. You know, I commonly see folks are really looking for more, and I find it's slanting into the leadership realm, and it's also slanting into the global realm, right? They
yeah.
need a lot of help with multi countries. So, are you seeing those same sort of trends as well?
I really am, and you know what?
Yeah,
That's a great link back to the earlier conversation about AI
yeah,
because lifelong learning for everybody that wants to keep ahead,
yep,
for everybody that wants to keep abreast of current topics, changes, then demonstrating that lifelong learning and continuing to keep yourself updated is so important. The Stone Age man that stayed in the cave is the one that died out. The one that went
yeah,
out and explored is the one that grew and flourished. And there can be reasons behind that, and sometimes it's just about being adventurous and wanting to learn. But that's so important, and I agree with you. The point that you just made there, Pete, around global payroll. If I go back to an earlier part of my career after joining outsourcing, I had the opportunity to work on an international deal, and it was those chances where lots of people step back, but I stepped forward. And the director at the time said, "Look, we've got to put a deal together across UK, France, Belgium, Netherlands. Who knows anything about French payroll?"
right.
I
Yeah.
didn't I didn't know anything about French payroll, but I put my
Oh,
hand up,
yeah,
and next week I
yep.
was in Paris and I was learning. And I was meeting the French teams, and we were having great
Yep.
lunches, by the way. They love a lunch.
Yeah.
um,
Yep.
but that really gave me the appetite for international payroll. And from that small beginning, if you like, and then winning the deal, delivering the services across those countries, actually subcontracting in Belgium with a little known provider that only delivered in Belgium at the time, and they were called SD Works, obviously a global provider today. Um, and from that piece, I'm working with them, working across those countries. That really gave me an appetite, and that's when I joined Northgate Arinzo. And Pete, that's when you and I came across each other
Yes,
originally,
yes. Yeah.
because I was part of global teams then setting up operations out in India and the Philippines, and getting to visit America frequently, etc. So that was such a great journey as we knitted those different businesses together to create a global offering. And I think that that's still evolving. It's still evolving how that's delivered, the different approaches that are being taken, and everyone's still learning the skills around that. So there's still so much to do.
Yeah, yeah, and it's fascinating how the I mean, we obviously understand the employment element of it, but it's fascinating how, you know, back 10 years ago, only the biggest companies were multinational. Only the biggest
Yeah,
companies had global needs. Now it's like everybody has a global.
yeah,
I mean, you almost want to say you should if you're recruiting the right way, unless you have to recruit and have people on site, you're able to get the skills you need anywhere now. And so I think you're seeing companies are being pulled into places that they never expected to be.
yeah,
Payroll leaders are becoming multi-country at a faster rate, at an unexpected sort of path,
yeah,
and it's interesting because you're right. It's created all this opportunity, but also all this gaps in knowledge and gaps in learning, and folks that are in some ways learning as they go. You know what I mean?
yes, yeah,
So
absolutely, yeah, yeah,
I don't know that there can be enough.
I would totally challenge, any of our listeners. The more we talk with guests about how they got in and, how they navigated a career in and around payroll, the more I think I would challenge any other career option out there to have so many different paths and so many different ways, and
yes,
to actually find that most folks that have found their way into this space love it because they've changed themselves. They've reinvented themselves over and over in different aspects or different facets for different periods of their life around this. And that's what we hear the Gen Zs are looking for. It's what we hear, is part of really valuing and enjoying a job and learning and accumulating skills. So, like how could this not be the coolest thing since sliced bread these days, right?
Do you know what, Julie? That's a fantastic point as well, because Gen Z, what we hear with new millennials, etc., new generations joining the workforce, is they only want to be part of the workforce for a couple of years to take experience to then move on to the next role. If I think about my own career was never I'm going to sit in this one place forever. My own career was about I want to go and gain experience. So in the very same way, I tended to use 5 years as a kind of a block because, and also it's very important to me family as well. So Louise and I have been together 34 years. We've got the three children who are now grown up, but equally we made decisions that were both career supporting and family supporting at each direction. So I did global work for about 6 years, but then it was the right decision was to come away from that and to come back into the UK. And I took a UK post that still provided for us as a family, that still gave me lots of opportunity to develop, but it allowed me to be back home more often, and that was fine then because it was the right choice for the family and for me. And again, just to your point that you're making there, Julie, I think you can find that within payroll right across the globe. You can find the areas that suit you best. You can then go and explore that. And actually, you know, during my time within Global Payroll, I led a product development team. And that was learning a whole new language, the whole technical
Hmm.
language of product development, and appreciating. I was brought in from an operations side, looking at the user experience, but learning how those guys were going through, fast development phases, etc., gave me a lot more strings to my own bow and a lot more ability to go and discuss that and challenge that in other areas. So, yeah, taking lifelong learning and different experiences. Wow, this is a super rich industry to provide that.
It is, man. And payroll, I mean, payroll specifically, it can take you places. And I mean, I've given a speech on this, but I tried to run from payroll for the longest time. I thought it was going to hold back my career. I thought no one would take me serious as an HR leader if all I did was payroll. And what I found was that the opportunity was always in payroll. I was always challenged more by payroll. I was being career path and I didn't even know it. You know what I mean? It was
Yeah,
just where you wake up one day and it's like, hey, I've been doing this for this long. I was fortunate to get around a lot more elements of HR and transformation, but largely, one of the things I think is cool is I've seen, and I have some direct reports that I've had in the past that I hired or worked with young in their careers
yeah,
that are now in adjacent areas like product development and consulting and things where they're not practitioners any longer, but they're still sharing that knowledge and using it in
yeah.
a lengthy career. It's really really awesome.
There's not too many things that get good as you get older, especially the aches and pains. But one of the really great things is seeing those that you've mentored and then come on and then become directors of industry and
Yeah.
move into different countries, may take up different positions there, and really, really, established careers. That's fantastic to see.
Yeah, and likewise, I've also worked with now these were in mega organizations that I was either consulting or working with, but I've seen some really brilliant leaders come from other parts of the company come into a global payroll or a major shared services sort of environment and absolutely excel. And
Yeah,
they had no background. They were, something else. And this was the way for them to get to the next level.
got
And it's, and we get some tremendous folks that way, but it's like, what if they would have started here? That
yeah,
would have been amazing.
yeah.
So yeah, we got to figure that out and get more people here. And I'm hoping that now that the role, and that's what I want to talk to you about too, is what are your thoughts on how the role is changing? I mean, I think that the payroll leaders are really going to have to become almost big four consultants. They're going to have to become business advisors in a large way, right? I mean, certainly they'll still have to be, managing their process and their risk management, if you will. But at the core, I think they're going to also need to be that advisor. What are your thoughts on what you feel like the role is going to become?
I agree, and I agree that every individual is going to have a different ask and request of them. But
Yeah,
the more rounded those leaders can be, then the more influential they are within the business. Also, the more credible they're seen if they come from not just one position. So being able to talk about data, being able to talk about people, being able to talk about projects that are unfolding, being able to talk about the customer experience as part of that, being able to talk about a business and where its sales might be leading, because you see the data around those different areas of the business. There is such an opportunity for those leaders to be super influential, to use that data and really with credibility build it out. It's I think the time is great. It's about finding feet though, and it's about making sure that stakeholders are aware of that credibility. So finding a voice, using the voice, and being recognized as somebody that's of value and therefore should be listened to.
Yeah, yeah, and I want to see too. I think we've got to work on. I mean, my report that we put out. I think the payroll profession confidence index. And thank you so much for your help in getting that out.
Yeah,
I want to
absolutely.
double that next year. But I think what I saw in there is that we've got to make payroll a cultural priority within the organization, and that's lacking in 90+%. I'd say, I don't know, many organizations, most are not looking at payroll as a priority. They're kind of looking at it as this reactive thing they have to do, a necessary evil. And I think that attitude is what I think is a big part of what will help payroll become that advisor and be seen. And certainly they got to walk the talk. They've got to lean into the tech and use that. But I think there's got to be this cultural shift towards payroll being a priority, and I don't know that that's happening fast enough. And I think it's happening to organizations in a reactive way, like, oh, this thing has happened or that thing has happened. Oh, let's make this important now. Well, it's
Yeah,
too late at that point, right? And you're mopping up sometimes.
yeah. I think again that's the ask of that is that each of individuals that gets to lead a payroll area also gets to create their own identification, because all too often it can be seen as payroll reports into HR or payroll reports into finance. And because of that umbrella, if you like, then finance will be looking at, okay, what do we need to do about national minimum wage, or what do we need to be doing about gender, and those kind of things. And payroll provides all the feed to that, it provides all the information to that allows HR to then go and make those decisions. Well, why not just lead that yourselves? And finance asks for, right, we need all the data on the labor costs and then the costs of absence. And again, well, actually, we can provide a whole suite of information that does all of those things. So I think you're right. Pete, we're talking about kind of at the C-suite, and you've got the HRD or you've got the CFO, but the payroll director needs to ensure that their voice is heard and that the information that they're providing is seen as so credible, because it covers such a broad span of the operation.
Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah. So impactful too.
This is William Tincup, and I'd like to talk to you a little bit about Indeed FutureWorks. Ryan and I attended the conference last year, and we created a limited series for Indeed where we talked to their customers. Great stories around TA and how they use Indeed to the max. So check it out. It's just Indeed FutureWorks 2024. You could search for it wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks.
Before we move on, I need to let you know about my friend Mark Pfeffer and his show, People Tech. If you're looking for the latest on product development, marketing, funding, big deals happening in talent acquisition, HR, HCM, that's the show you need to listen to. Go to the Work Defined Network, search up People Tech, Mark Pfeffer. You can find him anywhere.
Did you say that your organization addresses the needs both for payroll and pension? Did I hear that right when you said that at the beginning?
Yeah, you did. Yeah,
That's amazing because they're usually in two different parts of the organization in the US, very different. And
Yeah,
yet, if you think about it from the weightiness of the volume of dollars that, are at stake in either one of those things, and somehow I personally feel like, the pension, the folks that touch pension have a more naturally elevated, people think of them as higher knowledge workers than
yeah,
payroll workers. And
yeah.
so I'm just curious if putting those two things together is helping drive that in any way, or what do I mean, like, what's going on with that?
So what we see here in the UK is very much payroll and pensions teams tend to work very closely together, and in fact can be the same team just with different groupings. So we do see it as a closely located skill set already in the UK. We support understanding the calculations, understanding the background and the history to that. So part of we provide degree programs in that as well. So qualifications that you can take, to support your pensions administration journey through to manager, etc. And what's really important is recognizing all the differences that exist. So there are, there's public sector pensions, there's private pensions. We introduced some years ago within the UK auto enrolment, which was um, an automatic entitlement to a pension, and that actually drove 11 million more contributors to pension schemes, which was in that driving so much more individuals to a pension scheme was a fantastic success. The There's still challenge in terms of, are we saving enough for our, for retirement and that, and that's a broader discussion. Um, but actually driving that auto enrollment approach, which meant that people had to opt out rather than opt in, I think you see a high 50% plus take up rate than if you offer something that's an opt in, then it tends to be a very low take up rate. It's inertia that drives that. Actually, people go, "Oh, I won't get to opt out. I'll just stay in there," and that's been a fantastically successful initiative across the UK. Yeah,
Yeah, at that point in time, I think when that happened, there was quite a bit of a talent gap, right?
yeah,
And
yeah.
so looking to the U.S., where we had 401ks and other vehicles that functioned a lot like
Yes.
that, was we had a little talent outflow right over to the UK because you guys were driving some pretty big changes over there.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think that's where the globe can, all the different countries. I'm out to South Africa on Sunday to attend their conference, and South Africa, they've been reviewing and bringing together the two pots in terms of pensions, and that's a change in their industry to allow some access to pensions early, whereas it used to be all access to pensions, and people would then go and draw down, which would take away the benefit from when they reach old age. So they've been looking at their own legislation around that and how they improve that. Australia are doing the same, because all of us have got a multi-generational society where we're seeing so many people live longer, which is fantastic, but they need to be supported in that retirement stage as well.
It's cool to see that pairing, right? Because if you think about it as a continuum of your own personal pay, you have your pay while you're at work, and then you have what you're socking away
Yeah.
and hoping will be your income revenue
Yes.
stream when you stop working. And so it just seems so much more logical. And those things are rarely in the same sentence here on
Yeah.
this side of the pond, you know?
You know what's interesting? As you were asking that, Julie, I was thinking, I've always thought of pensions and payroll kind of being part and parcel in the UK, just from my experience. But also, I've worked with a few folks that entered the HR and payroll space by way of the pension world.
Okay.
And I always found them to be like brutally prepared because they've gone through the complexities of the pension
Yes.
program, and then they're like payroll. Oh, that's nothing. You know what I mean? They're like, we got this. We've already kind of gone through the calculus of this. So yeah, some outstanding. But again, these are the compliance based processes that make this job so. And that's one country, right?
Yeah.
One thing. We're
Yeah.
not even 190 more or 180 some more to go. But Jason, I want to ask you this question, right? Look, we've had a couple of guests on. We've talked about what do we have, the AWCC. We had the where we were talking about the Australian Workforce Council and what they're trying to do,
Yeah.
similar to some of the things that have already happened in the UK with degrees and look, they've got this big initiative where they really want to see payroll in the C-suite.
Yeah.
And I have mixed opinions about that. I want payroll to aim high, right? Aim to the. I always believe dream big, right? If you're going
Yeah.
to dream big. And I do believe that payroll needs I do believe they deserve an executive level uh, you know, channel and a direct and an engagement, right? Do they belong necessarily in the C-suite? I'm not sure, right? I mean,
Yeah.
no
Sure.
more so than any other thing. However, when you sit and you talk about this idea of, well, does it report to HR? Does it report to finance? I don't think there's a right answer. I think that's very cultural to the
Yes.
organization and kind of what they're doing. Sometimes the sector, even, right? If they're very finance led, I think
Yes.
that makes sense. But I also think that there is a place for payroll to have some sort of presence, whether it be on their own, maybe in a matrix way, or reporting directly into the C-suite where there is that visibility. Because you think about the P&L hit of payroll to most companies, it's massive. And if I'm the CFO, I need to know that's working. Especially, I would want to know if I'm the CEO. But like, what is your thoughts on that whole HR payroll C-suite? Like, what do you think your payroll really belongs, and what do you think is the future of that?
I'm really pleased that you brought that up, Peter,
Yeah.
because Because actually, any CFOs that are sat there listening and giving consideration that the bit that you touch on there around compliance about are we paying people correctly? Are
Yeah.
we meeting the legislative requirements in whichever country that we exist in? Are we delivering that right without risk?
Yep.
That all boils down in a lot of ways to do our people understand what they're doing? Are they qualified to do what they do? Are they educated to do what they do? And that's where the institutes and other associations come in to support that because
Yeah.
compliance is such a huge, huge issue. Actually, there's many industries out there and many businesses that sleepwalk through some of the legislation changes and don't realize, oh, we need to enact this, we don't need to enact that,
Yeah.
because they're not focusing on it. So I think just in that regard, I'm going to come back to your key question around the C-suite, but just in that regard, you know, there are hundreds of thousands of people involved in payroll. And not everybody wants to be a leader. Not everybody. I tell you what, some boardrooms you don't want to go in. It's not.
Right.
it's not. It's not as fun as it might sound. It's not just all fruit bowls and cheese and crackers. It's there's a lot of tough stuff goes in there. But so we want to represent everybody. And those 80%, that big part of it. If you, I'm picturing a triangle here, with an awful lot of bread and butter at the bottom, an awful
Right.
lot of people that work there. We want to make sure that everybody's represented, everybody's recognized for the value that they bring. Because actually, within the UK, we've just celebrated that the payroll professionals in the UK have delivered £413 billion in the last fiscal year to the government for central spending. That
Wow.
that collection, that value of money is incredible for
Yeah.
an organisation, UK PLC, if we think of it as that, to then determine what their central spending initiatives are going to be. So at that real macro level, it's massive, and obviously it's super important at a micro level that every individual that works for a business, every working employee, if they're paid correctly, the impact that has on health and well-being, the financial just assurance that I know that my pay's correct, it's coming in, we can make the family bills, we can pay the household bills that are happening, and we can make
Yeah.
plans for holidays and new cars and things like that. So,
Yeah.
so it, there's a much bigger piece in terms of the industry that I don't want us to lose sight on at all. But in terms of that sitting at the C-suite, or in terms of that influencing at the C-suite, it is typically a massive chunk of business costs is the labor force.
Yeah.
So to not have an eye to it, to not have an awareness of it, well, I'd challenge any CEO or CFO that didn't. That's
Yeah. Well, hey, and what other HR process do you know of that's going to get the CFO or the CEO hauled out in handcuffs?
yes,
Not another
absolutely,
one.
sir.
If
Yeah, yeah,
somebody screws up a, whatever onboarding or
yeah,
a
Performance plan.
learning, yeah, a performance plan. Like what? I mean, maybe you could get
yeah,
sued, and that's very detrimental.
yeah,
But literally, like their folks can be hauled out in handcuffs,
yes,
and it's not a game. And I think
no,
that this idea that payroll is entry level and that
yeah,
payroll is just this thing down in the basement and they're just printing checks is about as ignorant as you can possibly get.
yeah,
And what's
absolutely,
worse is that we now have the data from the PPCI report that shows that when executives lean into payroll, the outcome, the ROI, and the value return is 3x than
yeah,
those that don't, right?
yeah,
And just the way that they're treating them, and there's a lot of things that lead to that. But I think the point here is that and I try to tell folks this is you're at a competitive disadvantage whether you realize it or not. If your payroll is limping along
yeah,
and you've got these other great core HR and you've got all this stuff, you're putting yourself at a huge risk, and you're not creating a resiliency and an agility and a stability to be able to handle the next thing.
yes,
And I don't think people see that until they see that, and that's what I mean. Julie, we've talked about the fact that payroll gets bought at in catalyst moments, right? No one's out there like, oh, let's get a new payroll, right? Like
No.
it's like, oh shit, we've had we've had a breakdown, or we've lost people, or we've bought something, sold something, whatever. It's hardly ever this proactive,
yeah,
get in front of the ball kind of thing. And so I really hope that more organizations do make it a cultural priority, do start to look at their payroll uh, um, uh, folks as essential to
yeah.
not just the employee experience, but also uh, the strategic direction of the business. And I think that it's just a huge miss when that's not happening for them. So yeah. Well, look, Jason, just to kind of round this out, I know we're kind of coming to time. I could keep peppering you with questions.
I could keep
What
going all day, Pete.
I know, man. I know. You know what? We're gonna have to do a follow up. We're gonna have to do a
Yeah,
follow up. But I
yeah,
want to ask you this, man. What gets you excited about payroll right now, and what are you most worried about? And how do we help with those things?
So I think if I take that at a macro level, as I've just mentioned, it's about the C-suite understanding the needs of the payroll teams and making sure that they're supported in terms of qualifications, in terms of legislation updates, in terms of making sure that team is trained and well developed to be able to deliver all of the complicated legislation and changes that are happening all the time. So support of the team payroll team is a super request from this call and anyone listening. Recognize and respect how much they do for you. Um, more than that, I think is just the awareness that it makes such a contribution to overall society. And for me, payroll is a definite career choice with so many different strands to it. So I want to get to the syllabus with schools so that they can realize that, see it as a potential, see it as an opportunity to move people into, people who enjoy maths, people who enjoy computers and the science behind that, but others that go into sales and business development and far more, client facing pieces. There's opportunities for everybody in those roles as well, and you know
Yeah,
to have in a generation people going, I'm leaving school and I want to be a payroll professional. That'll be a great
yeah.
achievement.
Yeah, how do we do that, right? That's the $1 million question. I'd love to see. I'm trying to do what I can to bring. I do a lot of counseling with veterans coming into the workforce. I've been really
Got you.
trying to encourage. I get a lot
Yeah,
of the HR, a lot of the project management,
yeah,
and I'm really trying to encourage some connection there to try and pipeline some tremendous skills,
yeah,
into the space. But I also think we've got to, the media is really throwing a wet blanket on what was already a hurdle that we had, right? Telling everyone, oh, AI, we don't need you anymore, which is insane, just
yeah,
insanity
yeah,
when you think about payroll or even HR. Yeah,
yeah,
okay, data, whatever. You can manage data maybe with AI, but imagine trying to manage a merger and acquisition or a major organizational change or something very disruptive and big to the business, that's going to touch people, which is everything. How do you do that without people? And that's just, that's where I think the emotional intelligence and the adaptability and the skill sets, the soft skills of the
yes,
payroll practitioners, they're really poised for the future. They
yeah,
just have to lean in and know it and understand, and believe it, and then demonstrate these skills that we're talking about, right? The consultative engagement and championing change and using data to tell stories. I think all those things are going to be really really big for the
yeah,
practitioner of the future. So
yeah.
yeah, well, look, how do we? What's next for you? What's next for the CIPP? How do we connect? Let us know. What can we do?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So I'd love to continue within this storytelling and join you
Yeah,
again. The aspiration for me is that all of the different international associations work better together, and I think we work well
yeah,
together today because we're well connected. But there's much more we can do to improve upon that. I'm sure that's just part of evolution, um, and collectively, supporting the industry, raising the awareness of the industry, and just how much it contributes both at a macro level to the whole country economy, and then at a micro level to the individual working households. That a lot of respect and kudos should go there. Hence, National Payroll Week 2024.
Hashtag choose payroll.
Hashtag.
yes.
There you go, Julie. Yeah.
Steam to STEM. I got a few of them coming out of this.
We got to figure that out. Yeah, we got to do something with that. But Jason, I think we've also got to instill a belief in this community that they are executive leaders that can have conversations with executives to make positive change for their businesses, for positive outcomes. And so I think part of that is payroll understanding that they do have the skills and you do have the capability. What you need is the outlet to be able, a channel to be able to communicate that. And that's where I'm hoping, my call to action this year. I don't know if you guys saw my post about, I'm asking executives, take 20 minutes and just have a conversation with your payroll team and see what happens, right? Just take 20 minutes, give them 20 minutes of your time, understand them, listen to them, share what you're looking to accomplish, and vice versa, and see what comes of it. And maybe have another meeting, and maybe have another meeting. And I think there's some tremendous outcomes that we can see. So I'm excited. I'm excited for it. Well, look, this is great, Jason. Where can we connect with you at, and the CIPP? And I'll make sure all these links are in there as well. And you guys got a big conference coming up.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we have annual conference and exhibition, which we
Yeah.
acronym as ACE, in October in the Celtic Manor. I know it clashes with getting you across, Pete, because I was hoping for that, but we we were there against competition in Vegas, and so they win.
Yeah, I've already booked. I'm already booked.
There you go, Julie.
Yeah, we just were talking about that recently, and yeah, no, I'd love to come. I will try to make it the next one. It was a
Yeah,
little short notice. I couldn't get to this one, but I definitely want to come, and yeah, I'll share the links to that as
brilliant,
well.
brilliant.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
and we'll put your LinkedIn in there as well. And Jason, look, you have our help. Anything we can do, I want to lean in and try to do more with you guys as much as I can.
Super.
And yeah, we're here to help you. We're here to help the industry. And so anytime you want to come back, you're welcome. We'd love to hear about what you guys are doing, and share your knowledge. So thank you so much.
That's
This has
brilliant.
been great.
Thank you, Pete. Thank you, Julie. That's really been great. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So Julie, where are you headed? What's up? What do you got going
Oh
on?
my. So this is coming out right in conference season. And
Yeah.
so as you know, well, actually tomorrow, I think I'll be back already from a trip over to do some speaking in Hawaii. So
Ooh.
that's a first for me.
Oh, you're gonna get
But
tan over there.
I don't know. I usually I only see the insides of buildings.
uh,
It's so,
no
not
surfing.
exciting, right? As
Yeah.
Jason was saying at the beginning of our episode. We
I
think things
know.
sound like shrimp and, ice sculptures, but
I know.
and then the SSOW, so the Shared Services and Outsourcing Week in Houston, is the following week. And then, of course, I'll be with you at HR Tech in
Yeah, yeah,
Vegas.
exactly right. I'm headed out there to HR Tech, but making a stop next week in at the California Payroll Conference out in Sacramento. I think this is my second or third one I've done of theirs. I'm excited for that. A lot of great folks will be at that, and yeah, I'll be presenting on AI and automation, on leadership and payroll for the future, and yeah, all that good stuff.
Great
So
way to celebrate
I
now,
know, right?
1
I
week,
know.
right?
1 week after, yeah. But and look, we also need to. I think we've missed telling our audience about
Oh,
our
yeah.
move. Right, we
Yep.
moved over to the Work Defined Network. We've put that out there on social media, but yeah, we are super excited. Really, it's time. Right, it's time for us to grow. It's still going to be the same content, still a sales free environment. We're going to bring that over to the Work Defined Network. It's already live. And check out the other shows there, man. You're going to hear some promos on our show for those shows. We're going to promote the other shows. They're going to promote us. And really, the goal here is just to get to a wider audience and share our insights. And yeah, big thanks to Ryan Leary and William Tencup for inviting us, man. It's really
Yeah,
been
and
great.
if it's not
Yeah.
obvious by the name, right, of that Substack Work
Yeah.
Defined, all of the podcasts that they're assembling under that Substack are about work. So
Yeah.
could be payroll and HR, could be, temporary
Leadership, all
help,
kinds of stuff.
leadership, recruiting, like everything that has to do with, your work and your work life is kind of being pulled together under a
Yeah.
Substack
I
there.
I think their goal is like 100 shows, and we're really proud to just be one of the first few, and so excited for it. So check them out over at it's WRKDEFINED.com. You can check all the shows. You can probably pick it up on our site
Let's
too.
make sure to say though, it doesn't impact at all wherever you go to find our podcast. So it's
Yeah,
still pushed out to your Apple, whatever link or whatever icon you hit to find us.
nothing
It's
changes. Yeah, we're all in the same places and
still everywhere.
platforms. The
That's
only thing
right.
that did change is the Anchor. Anchor by Spotify went away. It became Spotify Podcast or something, and now they're using what they call Megaphone. I think it is. They bought that, and everything's moving there. But basically, Spotify, Apple. It's if you have Spotify, you'll find us. So, and yeah, we appreciate the support. It's. I think we're Julie. Last I looked at our metrics, we lost some of them with the move, but basically, we were over 30 countries, listeners in 30 countries. So, super
Yeah,
proud
and
of that.
and of course you and I know, but we're both
Yeah.
excited to see. We'll have some consolidated metrics. So when people ask us how many listeners or what type of footprint we have, we'll get some much better insights into that instead of having to go to multiple places.
Yeah, yeah, I love it. I think it's going to be great for us. Like I said, we just want to reach a wider audience, and it's the right time for us. So we hope you'll stick and stay with us, as they say. Check out our peers over at Work Defined. Really is a who's who of folks that I listen to, and I look up to many of my peers in the analyst space and some other thought leaders that are around that are just tremendous. So yeah, check everybody out on there. Well, look, this has been great. Julie, anything else to share? Jason, anything else you guys have? If not, we'll wrap this
No,
up.
sir. We're going to go finish toasting National Payroll Week.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah, that
absolutely.
sounds good.
I know. And Jason, look, and good luck on your event. Thank you so much for coming. Excited to be working closer with you guys
Brilliant.
to get payroll to the top of the charts, man.
Thank you very much,
All
both.
right.
Really appreciate
Thanks,
this.
guys.
Thank you.